Okay, so still no Cassidy, right? No Orase? Anthony Hernandez? No Tony yet? Ian? David? Jessica? All righty, we'll get rolling. They can catch up if they get here. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're all doing well. I will review the factors of production that we went over yesterday and kind of gave you a different way to think about land, labor, capital, and business knowledge, and sort of explain that. Also, as I said yesterday, we'll talk about a production possibilities curve. They had mentioned sort of in that video that reviewed opportunity, cost, scarcity, choices that are made, the debate that took place in the 1950s with guns versus butter during the Eisenhower administration. So if you remember from your US history class, right, you have the Great Depression in the late 20s. Hoover is president from 29 to 33. Franklin Roosevelt is elected in 32, takes office in 33, and wins 4 terms in a row. Now, during the Great Depression, he used what were called a bunch of New Deal proposals and acts to jumpstart the economy. As we move into World War II, in late December, right, early December, 1941, through the end of World War II, as we come out of that, Roosevelt dies in 44, Truman takes over for the rest of his term, and then Truman wins 1 term of his own. He steps down, doesn't seek re-election. Eisenhower wins 52 and 56. Now, during this time, we're sort of in an arms race with the Russians, who also developed an atomic bomb a few years after World War II, maybe 1948, I want to say. I think they did a hydrogen bomb by 51 or 52. So Eisenhower, during this time period, had this debate about guns versus butter. And we use that in economics to illustrate how you allocate your resources. So we'll talk about the 3 ways or the 3 areas in a production possibilities curve. Even without numbers, we can tell, is a country or society utilizing all of their resources to 100% efficiency? Are they not as 100% efficient as they could be? Or are they producing more than we thought they would? And we'll explain what that means. So if you go ahead and get to your week 4 module, we'll get you through the day. Do not forget that next Monday is a regular 5, 6, 7 day. It's not a flex day, so I won't see you Monday, but the assignment that we started yesterday and the assignment that we talk about today will be due Monday at 3:15. And then your normal days will be Tuesday, Wednesday for periods 1 through 4. 5, 6, 7 you'll have on Monday and Thursday, since next Friday, the 12th, is a holiday. All right, so what we went over and looked at yesterday was this idea of goods and services and what goes into making them. And so one of the things that I had said about capital is, if you add this idea that capital is really capital goods. If you think of capital in terms of capital goods, it should help you in categorizing what different goods and services are made of. So yesterday I used, right, the pencil as an example, right? The pencil has an eraser. It has a metal component that combines the eraser with the top of the pencil, the body of the pencil, the lead inside. And we talked about the eraser, the metal portion, the lead inside. Those are all finished goods and services in production of this good, which is a pencil. If you're talking about, let's say, a service, sometimes service, because it's basically abstract, you can't really touch a service. But this weekend got a haircut. The person who cut my hair, the clippers, the scissors that they use to cut my hair would be an example of capital goods, right? They are things that are used in the production of a service or the completion of a service, the service being the haircut I got. They could not have cut my hair without scissors and without clippers. And those are capital goods used in the production of other goods and services. Labor is something that you want to think of that has 2 components. Labor can be either human or it can be machine. And so labor is anything human or machine or human-run machines that go into the production of a good or service. Could be a computer program, could be an electrician, could be a plumber, could be any of those things, but that would be an example of that. I suggested that when we talk about land, one of the best things to do is to think about it how you would in elementary school. Land, you can consider natural resources, right? Things that we get from the earth, whether they be water, whether they be minerals, whether they be timber from forests. If you think of land as a factor of production, if you think of it as a natural resource, that should be more than sufficient to be able to categorize things that you might see. And then lastly, even again, going back to your US history class last year, right? As we come out of the Industrial Revolution and really sort of industrialize as a nation coming out of the Civil War, you have entrepreneurs like Andrew Carnegie, J.D. Rockefeller, you have Alexander Graham Bell and his telephone invention, you have Thomas Edison and the light bulb. All of these people we consider entrepreneurs in our country. They have developed an idea and an invention and basically sold that for profit. And so when you think of business knowledge, one thing you want to think about is those entrepreneurs, those that are willing to take the risk, the time, the money, the financing, the resources to develop those things, advertise those things, and then get them out to our society. But that was just a review of the factors of production and things that go into making a good or service. Any questions or clarifications for me on that? Okay. You were to, yesterday, after that was done, categorize the 12 items on the left and the 12 items on the right as which factor of production best fits them, right? Half acre of land would be land, as an example. Water, right, would be a best example of land. A manager is probably entrepreneurship. Rent is always a payment for land. And so when you submit via GoFormative, your answers to these, if you get a green circle up at the top, that means that you got it right. If you have a red circle, you can resubmit without penalty for the correct answer. But that, as I said, will start showing up as a missing assignment Monday at 3:15 if you have not turned that in. All right, no questions, and we'll move on to a production possibilities curve. So you can go ahead and click on that page. Okay, so as I said, all this does is illustrate for us sort of what we have in terms of a production possibility. And so each economic system that we'll look at will generally have a set amount of resources and a set amount of people that they need goods and services for. And so let me do this. So one of the things that I want you to remember, and I think we had mentioned this the first or second week, but if we take a curve like this, this entire curve is 1/4 of a math graph, right? We have the y-axis here, we have the x-axis here. We know that this point right here is 0, 0. And so in economics, right, you can't have negative resources. You can't have negative people, right? So everything is positive. So when you look at a quarter of a math graph, this is basically the curve that we're talking about. And so one of the things that I want you to realize is, one, this point here is 0, 0. As we move up the, let me get rid of that, that's a bad example. As we move up the y-axis, we get a bigger number, a more positive number. As we move along the x-axis, we get a bigger and more positive number. And so what we're going to have is simply this debate that started in the 50s during the Eisenhower administration about how a society, an economic system, or a country spends their resources, money, time, people's labor hours, etc. And we use guns versus butter because during the time, especially during World War II, right, you had all of these items that we generally take for granted that are in short supply because we've got thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops over in Europe, and we're fighting a war not only in the European front, we did fight a little bit in Northern Africa, but we also have the Pacific theater with the fight against the Japanese. And so one of the debates, as we said, was do we spend money on this arms race with the Russians during the 50s, or do we spend it on our growing population, our baby boom population? My dad, my mother, both born in the mid 40s, right here at the end of World War II or just after it ended. Actually, my mom was born at the end of World War II. My dad was born just after. So this is sort of the debate that was taking on or was being used in the country at the time. And so when we look at this, what you want to understand is all it is a representation of a society's or country's resources. And you have three areas, basically. You have area 1, and you have area 2, and you have area 3. And so area 3, we're going to represent out here by the X. Area 2 is going to be this curve, BDC. And area 1, we will put out here by point A. And so all I want to illustrate for you is that there's three different areas. There's an area here inside of the curve, all right, that is going to be an area that is less than 100%. And I'll explain what that means in just a second. Area 2 on this curve, exactly on this curve, anywhere from B, D, C, all the way up or down, is going to be exactly equal to 100%. And then what we have is area 3 that is going to be greater than 100%. And so we'll talk about what that means and how we know that, even though that there are no numbers on this curve or on this area in terms of production possibilities. So we have point A, and we'll look at point A first. And the easiest way that I try to think of this is if you have $10 in your wallet, you are able to buy $10 worth of food, $10 worth of gas, $10 worth of groceries, $10 worth of clothes, whatever your heart desires, right? If you have $10 in your wallet, you can go out and you can buy something for $10 right at that time. Now, if you go to lunch and you spend $5 on a Subway sandwich, you had $10 in your wallet, you have $5 left, you are at point A, right? You've underutilized all the resources available to you. You had $10 available, you only spent $5, you still have money to spend. Now, if you go and buy that same Subway sandwich, but then you stop down there in Orchid at one of the gas stations and put $5 worth of gas in, you've used all of your money. You had $10 in your wallet, you spent $5 on a sub sandwich, you spent $5 on gasoline, you've got $0 left, right? You've got $0 left. If you wanted to spend more than $10 to get out to point X, what would you have to have? If area 1 is less than $10, area 2 is equal to $10, and area 3 is greater than, to get to point X, what do you need?
Anything more than $10?
You would need more than $10. Exactly right. Ding, ding, ding. All right. So you would either have to get more money from friends, more money from parents, more money from your job, more money from an ATM. The only way to get to point X is if you increase your resources, right? Increase your money, increase your time, your work ethic, what have you. And so it's the same thing, right? All we did was take this down to a very specific point, but it's the same thing. If we were going to talk about the United States, right? This area here is called the frontier, area 2. The area marked by point A is underutilization. The area marked by point X is future production possibilities growth. And you can extrapolate that. All I did was give a very narrow individual look at a production possibilities curve, but you can extrapolate that all the way out to a country, right? Let's say that our budget, even though it's more than this, but let's say that our budget is $5 trillion, right? Trillion ION, is that right? If we as a country only spend $2.5 trillion, we're in area 1, underutilization. If, right, we are along the production frontier, we've spent all $5 trillion. If, for example, right, during these COVID times, we've got a bunch of people out of work, we increase the PPE funding, vaccine money, unemployment insurance, food stamps, whatever it is, right? And we go borrow a bunch of money from the Federal Reserve System, we're now out here maybe at $10 trillion. And so what we did is just go get more money. So we can look at this in a very specific individual manner, such as one person. We can look at it as an entire country. We could look at it as an industry or a specific business. But what I want you to understand is that we don't need, right? We don't need numbers on this to understand what's going on. So the area represented by point A in this area here is underutilization, right? Underutilization. This area here, the production possibilities curve represented by B, D, C is an area of 100%. And the only way to get future production possibilities growth is we have to add resources, labor, money, technology improvements to get to point X. That's the only way we get to point X. Any questions on that? So what we're looking at when we look at a production possibilities curve is the efficiency of a country, an economic system, an economic industry, individual businesses, and how efficient they are in maximizing their resources. There's a cost when we make a choice, right? So in this pandemic, for example, right, we have spent more on this idea of butter providing for individuals than we have on national defense, right? We have transferred some money to the more pressing need of people's unemployment, hunger, medicine, finding a cure, buying the vaccine, fronting Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, whoever it is, for the vaccine, right? That's where this country has put its priority. And so we know that just with every economic decision, there's a cost. When we decided to put the cost and money into the vaccine, we're spending more on butter than we were on guns. The trade-off, though, is, right, our national defense or guns. And so I want to illustrate this in one more manner for you, just as you would with an industry or something else. So I'm going to bring this up. When we talk about the production possibilities curve, right, we have 3 areas. The closer to the origin, right, that area of underutilization represented by point A is less than 100. The curve represented by BDC, area 2, is exactly equal to 100, using all of our resources. And to get to point X, as somebody pointed out in terms of the subway gas example, or even in the country example, we have to get more money, get more resources, or develop a technology to be able to produce more with the same amount that we have. So all of you have probably seen, right, the MyPillow commercials, right? So the MyPillow guy, and he's been in the news quite a bit, But let's say he likes to brag about being from Minnesota and his humble beginnings, and nothing wrong with that. But let's say that he starts his company with 6 employees, right? So we've got the My Pillow guy, starts his company with 6 employees. That's all he can afford. So what we'll do is a production possibilities curve for his 6 employees. And basically, we've got 2 tables here, right? We've talked about tables and graphs before. So along the y-axis, I'm going to put P for pillows. And along the x-axis, I'm going to put B for blankets. This dot down here, we know is the origin 0, 0. And so we know that, because we've talked about this earlier, and you're all very smart, but as we move away from the origin up here, our numbers get bigger. And as we move away from the origin here, our numbers get bigger. And so I just want to illustrate that this can work in real life examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what happens depending on how he allocates his resources. So the My Pillow guy starts out making pillows only, right? First commercials that you saw of him a couple years ago, all he did was talk about his pillows. Then it was buy 2 pillows for 99 bucks, right? So when he starts out, he's got 6 employees. All they're doing is making pillows. So we've got 0 employees making blankets, and we make 50 pillows a day. So along this here, we're going to put a curve in, and we're going to say that this is 6 employees, and they make 50 blankets, right? They don't make any, or 50 pillows, they don't make any blankets. And let's say that he starts branching out, right? So I can make more money if I sell pillows and blankets. So I'm going to put 5 employees on pillows, 1 employee on blankets. Then they're going to make 45 pillows and 1 blanket. So 5 employees would be right about here. 45 blankets would be around here. And then as you can see, that's about 1 blanket's worth and 1 employee's worth. And so we can put 4 employees on pillows, 2 on blankets, and that gives us a point maybe roughly right here. If we do 3 and 3, that gives us a point right about here, right? 35 pillows, 3 blankets now. This is 1 blanket, 2 blankets, 3 blankets. Maybe down here is 4 blankets where we have 4 employees and 2 pillows, or 2 employees making about 30 pillows. Let me move that up a little bit. It's not very, oh, there, maybe that's better. And so you can see here, 1 and 5. And if we move all employees to blankets, they don't create any pillows. That's why we have 0 here, but we have about 6 blankets worth. And so all we do to create our frontier is connect the dots. Let me make better points. Not very good writing with a mouse. Not very good writing at all anyway, but you got something like that. So everybody understand here, all I did was take the amount of employees for the My Pillow guy, and then what we did was 6 employees make 50 blankets. That's that point right there. 5 employees make 45 pillows, excuse me. 1 employee makes 1 blanket a day. That's that point there. And so you can see that this point, right, represents the 45 pillows and the 1 blanket, right? Because it just comes down and goes to the curve. So what we did with a real life situation is create, right, area 2. Area 2 is the frontier, right? Production possibilities frontier. That's what we did with this curve. Now, if one of his employees calls in sick, right? One of his employees calls in sick, we then have an area in underutilization, right? If one of his employees calls in sick, I can't put all of my resources to use, right? I can only put 5/6 of it to use. So that would mean, right, area 1 is going to be underutilization, right? This is going to be underutilization in here. If an employee calls in sick, I'm not going to be able to, in any way, shape, or form, match any of these totals or these totals because I'm going to be 1 employee short. Now, when my pillow becomes very popular, if he adds, say, 3 more employees, then you've got an area out here, right? And that was area 3. And so when you look at that, right, that area is future production possibilities growth. All right. And so from that, you have a point out here. And so if we look at, let me just give you a letter. So if we're going to make this the same, this would be point A, like on our graph. So that's point A right there. And then what we could do is this could be B, C, D, E. This could be F, G, H, and then we could make this point X out here to match the other one. So all we did was take real information, right? Even though we made it up, but the My Pillow guy's real and his business is real. And first he starts out with, and you've seen this before, right? All of his old commercials are only about pillows. He's got all of his employees making pillows, no blankets. They can make 50 a day with 6 employees, no blankets made. That represents that part there. So this curve represented from B, C, D, E, F, G, H is the frontier. If one of the 6 employees calls in sick, it's going to be an area of underutilization. And if he hires 3 more employees, 4 more employees, he'll be out here at point X, right? Because they can do more work. And then the last thing, as I said, is you want to make sure that you understand this area in here is always going to be less than 100%. We don't even have to have any numbers, right? We know that area represented by point A is always going to be an area of underutilization, which is less than 100%. This is always going to be equal to 100%, no matter where that curve is along, no matter what business we're talking about. And then when we look at, and I'll get rid of this so you can see it better. When we look at point X out here, point X is an area of future growth, and future growth came from the hiring of 3 to 4 more employees. And so future growth is always going to be more than 100% in terms of what we have. Does that make sense okay? Okay, so I just wanted to illustrate that for you and show you what a future production possibility would mean. Go ahead and click on your next page, and I'll show you what you have to get done before next Monday. So the last thing is a 10-question review of market economies. If you click on the blue link there, it should take you to Edmentum. You should be able to log in. And what you'll have is the, you get to the course. Some of you got a head start on it earlier. But right under the economic systems, that you did is a market economies tutorial. Remember that a market economy is our basic economic system where you have little to no government interference and businesses making the decision. So there's a tutorial here that you can go through, and they'll talk about market economies. Then when you're ready, you can do the 10 questions and review on that. Then you would copy or take a screenshot of your assignment. So you can upload that and I'll get a notification through there. And you'll have the choice to do either a screenshot or a URL. It's completely up to you in terms of what you want to do for that. So you can do a website URL or a screenshot on that. As I said, we don't have class on Monday. There's no flex day. So you'll want to remember that yesterday's factors of production assignment is due 3:15 next Monday. This market economies, you can just click on the blue there, is also due at 3:15. And then next week, we'll get you ready for your first unit test and we'll be on our way. So remember, Monday and Thursday are periods 5, 6, and 7. No flex day next week. Tuesday and Wednesday are normal for you guys. For me, periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you'll have Friday off and you also have Monday off. And then the following week, the 16th and 17th will be normal Tuesday, Wednesdays. The 18th and 19th will be normal Thursday, Fridays with 5, 6, 7. Be no flex day again. All right, so if you have any questions or concerns, you can hang on. I'll be happy to help you. Otherwise, I'll let you go so you can use the rest of the time to finish up. And we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Bye, Mr. Grock. Have a good day.
Thank you. Take care. Hey, Cassidy, what's up?
Sorry, I was helping my brother write an essay because I got out of my English class early, so I was helping him write an essay and I totally lost track of time.
Okay.
So what did I miss?
I'm going to put the video up on YouTube, but basically we reviewed the factors of production, and then I went over a production possibilities curve.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'll put that up on the YouTube, and then you can just reach out to me if you have any questions. It's pretty basic. So.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you're a good sister.
All right, see you later.
Dear, have fun.
All right, you too.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Layla, do you have any questions?